built like a chicken McNugget, but
this is After.
David? Oh, it looks like, yeah, okay. Welcome back to American Sunrise. David Brody is busy getting his concert tickets for Don McLean, who's coming to the Villages in Florida in March. It is time now for the one to watch. New York City facing a growing cleanup crisis, and Mayor Mamdani at the center of the controversy as mountains of uncollected, rat-infested garbage stack up across the Upper East Side. Some as tall as 8 feet. Residents say the city hasn't been swept in days, but just steps away from Gracie Mansion, the mayor's own block. Looks good, you guys. All right, we have to go. It's just a report.
Gotta run.
That's all we have to say. You guys, War Room is up next. Go boldly now. Live the truth. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye, Miss American Pie.
See you.
The day after the search of the Fulton County Elections Facility, Tulsi Gabbard facilitated a call between the president and the FBI team working on the investigation. That's according to 3 people with knowledge of that meeting. The Times writes this. The president addressed the agents on speakerphone, asking them questions as well as praising and thanking them for their work on the inquiry. In a letter to lawmakers who were pressing for more details, Gabbard denied that Trump asked questions or issued directives during the call. The paper also pointed to the unprecedented nature of the meeting. Rather than going to senior department or FBI officials, Trump spoke directly to the frontline agents doing the granular work of a politically sensitive investigation in which he has a large personal stake. A White House spokesperson defended the president's Georgia investigation on the whole, saying he has pledged to secure America's elections. Those 2020 elections were secure, of course, but the Justice Department, the FBI, have declined to comment.
Well, and it's worth remembering that at least in a couple of these battleground states, the votes were run by Republicans. Georgia was a Republican-run state. Arizona was a Republican-run state. And the Republican governors and secretaries of state of those states said, yeah, you lost. And it didn't seem to stop him then. So the idea that if Republicans run the election, somehow there won't be, fraud in his mind is belied by the fact that the Republicans didn't have fraud and did run the elections, and he lost. And look, it's really it's an important thing what he said yesterday, because he told my colleagues in the New York Times in a recent interview that he regretted not ordering the National Guard to seize voting machines in 2020 in states that he lost. This is a proposal brought to him in the Oval Office by Mike Flynn, his former national security advisor, and some others, saying he should effectively declare martial law in some of these states that he lost, seize the voting machines, and rerun the elections until he won, basically. And that's the fact that he says he now regrets that indicates where his head is at heading into these midterms.
I'm actually less concerned with the FBI's role in that than I am with ICE. We've seen what the FBI can do right now. They can, after the fact, open an investigation. I have no idea what their predication is for doing this, but they can muck things up after the fact. They're an investigative agency. They don't really respond. ICE is now the largest funded law enforcement agency in the history of the world. There is a game plan that draws upon a very horrible period of our nation's history. I'm thinking of the Jim Crow era, in which law enforcement was used to discourage people from going to the polls. Can anyone look at what's happening in Minnesota and tell me that that is not a very real possibility for November?
Before January 6th, there was a massive failure of imagination, I think, singling out a couple of pieces. I didn't see people predicting storming the Capitol. So there was a lot of failure of imagination that was widespread across the political class before January 6th. That is something that had not happened before. Now it's happened. It has happened. And so when that phrase Trump being Trump, which used to mean, oh, all bluster, no action, I think it means something else now. If someone says, oh, that's just being Trump being Trump, I say, yeah, absolutely. It is Trump being Trump, and Trump being Trump as he tries to steal elections. And he talks about it right in front of our faces. There's nothing hidden about it. And so, yeah, that phrase Trump being Trump doesn't mean what it used to mean.
This is not a drill. In it, you write in part, quote, a president who doesn't care about the law, who commands an obedient Congress and is supported by a radicalized base of tens of millions of people who believe his lies, represents a threat to the next election. I fear that millions of citizens are still too complacent. They aren't aware of the peril we face. So consider this to be something like a fire drill. It's an alarm, one of thousands that should be ringing across the country. MAGA's acts of aggression are already intimidating. Trump isn't just trying to stop the steal again. Another kind of theft might be already underway.
Stupid lie that the 2020 elections were stolen. 63 federal judges threw out 63 of Donald Trump's stupid claims that the 2020 election was stolen, including the Supreme Court, including Thomas and Alito. All of them threw it out, said it was stupid. You had Donald Trump's own administration and the person in charge of elections saying it was the safest, it was the fairest, cleanest election in the history of our constitutional republic. So these aren't even good lies. These aren't even like doesn't even make us do any work. It's right in front of our faces. And now he's basically saying, you got Pam Bondi in Minnesota saying, yeah, we'll stop terrorizing your state if you turn over all your voting files. That's in Minnesota. And now in Georgia, Tulsi Gabbard is now in charge of seizing voters' files in Georgia. That is so unconstitutional. States run elections, not presidents who are scared their party's going to lose. And it's not an overstatement at all to say that this looks like what autocratic regimes do. This looks like what Orban does. This looks like what Putin does. This looks like what all the worst of the worst across the world do. And right now, it's happening again in Georgia.
Yeah, Joe, one of the things about this that's so frustrating is even after January 6th, even after everything we went through at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, I think there are still people who say, no, this is all bluster. This is all talk. This is what he does. Yeah, what he does is he directly describes what he's going to do about elections. What he does is he directly says what's on his mind about elections. And I don't know why people aren't believing him. I don't know why there isn't more of an outcry here, because it's being forecast, it's being broadcast to us, all of the intentions right in front of our faces. And so, one of the things that we have to do in response is not just do what we're doing now, amplify and talk about what the real alarm is, but also start to think of concrete things, concrete policies that can be enacted or at least proposed to bring awareness to this and hopefully roll back some of these efforts. But make no mistake, the intentions are very clear and right in front of our faces.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Tuesday, 3 February, year of our Lord 2026. Thank you for joining into the War Room. I want to thank the team in Denver, the Real America's Voice team, and of course, our own team here at the War Room. That was a magnificent cold open and kind of lays the framework for what we're going to talk today. Caroline Wren is riding shotgun. Dave Bratt is riding shotgun. Ben Harnwell is going to join us. Chip Roy, as soon as we get Chip up. Let me add, Caroline, I'm going to toss out to you and Dave. obviously they're totally panicked that now we're getting to the receipts of how the 2020 election was stolen. Tulsi Gabbard, I might say the heroic Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard has been right 100% of the time on all the intel. She's given President Trump amazing intel of all these different conflicts she's trying to resolve. And that's why they've tried to, Caroline, as you know very well, they've tried to turf her out of her job. It's been brutal on that. President Trump trusts her enough that she is overseeing this kind of look into the 2020 election, because there are national security, obviously, and intelligence issues with this. This is the greatest crime in the history of the country. They stole the 2020 election, as we have said here from the afternoon, I think it was 4 or 5 days after the 2020 election, when the Associated Press called it for Joe Biden. We said Joe Biden's illegitimate, it's an illegitimate regime, all of it. And we stand by that. And now we're going to get to the receipts. And so they are absolutely freaking out. There are a couple of bills up. SAVE Act is one, the Make Elections Great Again. They call for a couple of basic things. And Brad, I want you to jump in here too. Here's what they call for. You have to show an ID to vote. Right, a legitimate, driver's license or passport. You have to show a legitimate ID to vote. We have to purge all the voter rolls for people who are not eligible to vote in those districts or counties or states. Right, and then we have to do a real job on mail-in ballots, like like signature verification, where we're supposed to be on the books, but of course they took them off the books and looked the other way in Pennsylvania. That's how they stole that. These are a couple of basic things, and the Democrats are saying this is the greatest voter suppression movement in history. Here's the reason: Minnesota shows you this, New York City shows you this. If they don't have illegal aliens voting, or if they don't have these phony migrants that are here on these phony programs that are at the polls, and you're damn right, we're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen. And that's why I'm so proud of what President Trump is doing and people are doing. Caroline Wren, your thoughts on that before I go to Brett?
I think what you said about ICE is very much related to this, because, in fact, Senator Mark Warren said in an interview, he said, we don't want ICE agents showing up at the polling stations. That's what this is all about. That's why they're trying to defund ICE. That's why they're trying to, go after and target ICE and shut it down. Why would you care if ICE shows up to polling stations? Because illegal aliens are not allowed to vote in this country, except for the problem is they do. And they do in these, they're not blue states. I was going to say blue states. Minnesota is a deeply red state that is held hostage by illegals voting. And it is the minorities have taken over there. And by minorities, I mean the minority party, the Democratic Party there. And that is due to allowing illegals to vote. And so that is what this outrage by the left is against ICE. They're desperately trying to shut down the DHS funding bill. They don't want ICE funded because they don't want ICE at the polling stations to stop illegals from voting.
The ask here on the SAVE Act and Make Elections Great Again Act are pretty basic. A legitimate ID to show who you are to vote. It is to clean up the voter rolls. We've had Tom Fitton on here. There are millions. There are tens of millions, particularly in places like Georgia, but all over the nation, there are tens of millions of people on voter rolls that should not be. They have to be cleaned up. And the blue states are the ones that are fighting the Justice Department. And then the last is you've got to go back to the basic law. If you're going to have mail-in ballots, you have to have signature verification. You have to have the double envelopes. You have everything so we can have a 2020. And the Democrats don't want to play that because they know how to steal elections. Let's put you on notice again. ICE is going to be around the polls in the 2026 midterm elections because we are never again going to allow your business model, because I think Jesse Kelly's right. 20% of the country probably votes for Democrats, the credential class. And of course, the abject poor that they keep on these social welfare programs and never let them off it. That's the Democratic Party base with a handful of oligarchs, the super wealthy. That's who controls the Democratic Party. The way that they continue to win elections is they cheat. If they don't cheat, they can't win. And now they're sitting there saying President Trump is a fascist. These are very basic things, and they're not. We're going to find out today. Chip Roy's going to come on. As hard as Anna Paulina Luna people have been working, I'm not so sure the SAVE Act even comes to a vote.
I'm not very hopeful that it will, which is why I think some of this is going to have to be done through executive action. You heard the president talking about nationalizing some of the elections. Well, look, I mean, states do run elections, but you are running them contrary to federal law, which says that you cannot vote if you're an illegal alien in this country. And so they are allowing illegal aliens to vote. And so Donald Trump is not going to let that happen. He's going to step in. The federal government's going to have to step in and stop that from happening. And so I hope that, what's important about Anna Paulina Luna's bill and the SAVE Act is I want that to come to a vote, especially in the Senate, because we need to see the people that are willing to put on paper, vote no, basically saying that I support illegal aliens voting in the United States.
If we're not going to get rid of the filibuster, and obviously Thune's not going to do that, we need the standing filibuster. If they want to filibuster this, they got to stand up there for 30, 40, 50, 60 hours and let's see it go. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. Chip Roy's going to join us. There's Sharia caucus in the House and the Senate. A combination meets today. Tommy Tuberville, Keith Self, Chip Roy, and others. Chip's going to be on here. I think it's 2 o'clock. We're going to cover it live on War Room and Real America's Voice. The caucus will be today. Short commercial break. Dave Bragg, Caroline Wren, Ben Harnwell is going to join us. Back in a moment.
I got American faith in America's heart.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
It was the cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but...
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. You don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
Cut your penis off, actually.
That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice.
It's Stacy from Texas. I watch Real America's Voice because I need to learn, and I know I can get the truth through Rav. Dr.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Let's go right to Chip Roy. Chip, tell us about the SAVE Act. You know, we had a cold open. I don't know if you caught all of it, but it's the mainstream media and the left melting down because President Trump's got Tulsi Gabbard looking at the results of the stolen election in Georgia in 2020. We're going to get to the bottom of all that. Plus, he said yesterday, I think it was on Dan Bongino's show, he answered the question, said, hey, I may have to nationalize these elections. Now, he wasn't using the common vernacular we use politically to say, hey, we're going to get a small set of issues and run a national campaign for the House, which we may end up doing. I think that'll probably be it. But he meant it in the fact that if these red states with blue cities like Minnesota and other places with these sanctuary cities continue to thwart ICE and the federal government from getting in and removing these criminal illegal aliens and doing mass deportations, we're not prepared to allow another election to be stolen by the Democrats, particularly when they're thwarting the SAVE Act. And what you guys are trying to lay out is, we told the audience, pretty basic. Voter ID, right? Number one, a voter ID, purge the rolls of anybody that's not eligible to vote, and then get some rules in there on mail-in ballots like signature verifications, double office, the basics on mail-in ballots so they can't steal it like they did again in 22 or in 2020. Can you walk us through where you guys actually stand with the SAVE Act? Are we going to get a vote in the Senate on this? Are we actually going to make this law?
Thanks, Steve. All right. Well, first of all, remember, let's rewind the clock for a minute just so everybody can understand the score. Number one, we drafted the SAVE Act in the spring of 2024 because we were concerned about the election of 2024, right? And that it would impede the election of President Trump. I worked with Cleta Mitchell, like you mentioned, Georgia, right? Cleta's been in the center of this fight in Georgia from literally the day after the election in 2020. I flew to Georgia, met with Cleta there. Cleta and I worked to draft this bill along with Stephen Miller when he was, of course, on the outside before the administration. And we got that drafted. We got it introduced. We got it passed. And then the Senate did, in fact, call it up, but they blocked it, right? The Democrats blocked it. Schumer did. Now, fast forward. That bill, the SAVE Act, was centered on citizenship, right? It was centered on purging the rolls, as you point out, of non-citizens, ensuring that you have to demonstrate your citizenship to register to vote. Straightforward bill. We purposely left voter ID separately because we were trying to have very discrete bullet issues. We decided now, we had the SAVE Act this Congress, Mike Lee has it in the Senate, I have it in the House. We added, because President Trump agreed with us, we thought it was a good thing, it was he wanted to do it, brand it as the Save America Act. We added voter ID into that. So we have the SAVE Act already passed, it's over in the Senate. We now have the Save America Act introduced in both the House and the Senate that is SAVE, that is citizenship, and voter ID, a federal voter ID requirement. So we have that introduced in both chambers. We'd like to see that move in the Senate. Pause for a second. There is another bill, as you point out, the Make Elections Great Again bill, that has other features that we've also been working on. That was introduced by the Administrative Committee Chairman Brian Stile, or he might have ran it through the committee. It might have been Mary Miller's bill, but it's a good bill. That bill has other things in it, like you point out, about mail-in ballots and all the things we've got to address beyond just citizenship and voter ID. Where does it stand? I would have liked to have demanded, as a part of the appropriations bills moving this week, that we at least move the Save America Act and send it over to the Senate and put it on their desk and say, we've already passed it out of the House. We have not negotiated that to this point. Obviously, the president wants to avoid a shutdown. We're working with the White House. But I want to see those move. Anna was obviously down at the White House yesterday. We've gotten general commitments out of the White House, the Senate. They want to move this. But here's the sticking point. Leader Thune, he's got to have 51 Republicans sitting on the floor of the Senate to carry out what you described, what I would describe as a talking filibuster. That is, you can't just force it to be 60 votes. If you have 51 senators on the floor of the Senate, you can call the question. Democrats, so long as they speak, can stop calling the question, but they have to be speaking. We need the Leader Thune to force that. We believe we should have a upfront central debate. It ought to be all cameras on. Remember the speakers fight? Everybody in America was watching what was happening when we were on the floor of the House. We need that now for the Senate. We stand for citizenship. We stand for voter ID. Democrats are standing to block it. We think we should force that question, and that's what we're trying to negotiate this week.
How are you going to be able to negotiate that? Get the audience up to speed when you've got the president's pretty adamant he doesn't want a government shutdown. And his rationale is that, hey, it took a point or two away from growth last year. The Democrats are going to use it against us as a weapon to try to shatter his economic plan, which President Trump is a strong believer. He could get to 4.5%, 5% growth. And so Schumer right here, Schumer actually looks like he's got some leverage in this. This is what's going to happen with ICE. Yesterday, we did blink on body cameras and took it off the table and said in Minnesota, people are going to have body cameras. So how are you going to get these all-important, cleaning up the elections and make sure they can't steal them anymore. We're codifying that, right, off of all these executive orders. At the same time, we're kind of in hang fire on this whole government shutdown. As you know, Wren, Bannon, Bratt, the Warren Posse, everybody, shut the government down, right? We could care less, sir.
Well, you know where I would be on my own decision making. I would be in the camp of where you guys are. I am working with the White House and working with the team to figure out what's best. The president wants to keep everything rolling, and I want to support the president. But at the end of the day, we've been pushing hard over the last 48 hours to demonstrate to Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune that we're serious about this and we must get this vote. The SAVE Act's over there. We want the Save America Act over there, and we want to force the question. I think the question here isn't about leverage, though. The question here is how to muster 51 votes in the Senate. That's the ultimate question. It actually isn't 60, Steve. And I think this is something everybody needs to understand. The filibuster is a problem, and we need to force that because it would put pressure on senators. We need to force the talking filibuster. But we need 51 Republicans to stand behind something. So this is where Scott's great work in going around and pushing hard to try to get every senator to co-sponsor the SAVE Act. We're now at a number where we're at 50. We need to get that up. McConnell's opposing it, of course. But we need to get that so we have 51 that are on record saying they support something, because then there's no excuse not to force the talking filibuster. It's the only way to break 60.
Yeah.
Or you have to move it on a must-pass piece of legislation. And the only thing we have left is going to be the DHS funding bill after this week's bill, the FISA reauthorization, which you and I have problems with. We think you need to add a warrant requirement to FISA.
Yep.
And then one or two other things in spending bill by September, and by then it's too late. So we've got to try to force the question right now. We'll try to
hang on. Let me add another number for the Warren Posse to chew on. You got 60, which they had this kind of phony filibuster. You got 51 that could force them to do a talking filibuster. But then you have 27. Correct me if I'm wrong. If Thune can't get 51 to do this, well, don't we go to the president and say, hey, look, let's call a vote on his leadership? Don't we have 27 senators that would vote Thune out and get somebody into, I don't know if it's Eric Schmidt, Hawley, you pick it, somebody that'd be the new leader of the Senate that would get you the 51? I mean, they keep saying we can't get the votes. That's what a leader's supposed to do. If Thune cannot deliver this week on these basics about not allowing them to steal elections, why is he not removed as a leader of the Senate, sir?
Well, I think that's a great question for Mike Lee and Rick Scott. My observation, and I was obviously a chief of staff to Ted Cruz in the Senate. I know the Senate pretty well. The question's going to be is who can deliver 51? And I think right now, I will say this, the president, without divulging private conversations, the president is very animated and very concerned about getting the Senate to move on this. I think Leader Thune is feeling that. I think we're at a critical juncture right now where if the posse is engaged, if the American people are engaged, and we put pressure on the Senate, that we will force this question. Now, my concern is when I hear Thune say we're going to have a vote on this soon, is it'll have a vote. He won't force the question at 51. We will lose the vote, and he'll say, well, I tried, right? And that's not good enough. You've got to go down there with the full force of 51 senators and get it done. I think if that does not happen, then I think that Leader Thune's going to have some questions to have to answer, and I think there'll be some questions about the overall leadership. I think that Majority Leader Thune wants to try to figure out how to get this done. At least Mike Lee thinks he believes that after his conversations with him. So Mike's going to be in a better position to explain that. But look, for everybody out there, we're as close as we've ever been, but we're going to run out of time. If we don't pass these reforms in the next weeks, right, we're going to run out of time to implement them and to ensure, or at least, improve the likelihood that we will not have fraud by November. I mean, obviously, I'd like to get all the reforms, get voter ID, SAVE Act, citizenship, the mail-in ballot changes, limits to how long you can have early voting, and the online voting and make it towards paper ballots. These are all things everybody watching this wants, everything I want. We're trying to get there. Again, we've got more momentum behind SAVE and Save America, the citizenship and voter ID, than we've ever had. So we've just got to keep the pressure up.
Chip, do we have the ability to hold you through the break for a couple of minutes? If not, the Anti-Sharia Caucus is going to meet, I think, today at 2. It's a press conference. We're going to cover it live on Real America's Voice. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll hang by.
Okay, fine. Just tee it up. What happens at 2 o'clock? I want to make sure our audience is prepped for this. At 2 o'clock, you and Keith Self and Tuberville. What is it?
Yeah, Keith Self and I co-founded the Sharia Free America Caucus in the House. Senator Tuberville is going to join us. We're going to have a bunch of the Freedom Caucus, Scott Perry, Andy Biggs, Eli Crane, all of the great Americans here. We're going to be standing up and talking about how we need to fight the advance of the Islamification of this country. We're seeing it unfold in real time, not just across America, but very much in Texas. It is, you know this because you've been down there and with War Room in Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is ground zero. Houston as well. The Muslim Brotherhood wants to see Texas flip. So Keith Self, obviously a Texan, he represents Collin County. He's dealing with that epic city nonsense. We've got to expose this. I'm having a hearing next week, Steve. This is important. I'm the chairman of the subcommittee of the Constitution and Judiciary. I'm holding a hearing on Sharia law next week. I believe it's next week. It's next week or the following. I'll let you all know. But I think it's next week on this topic. And we're going to keep our foot on the gas. And so we'll have this press conference today at 2 talking about what we're trying to do.
Can you hang on for 1 second? Just want to hold you through the break. Got a couple more questions. And then I want to make sure everybody's got your coordinates on this. Chip Roy. So we got to force a vote here. Thune, Senator Thune, it's in your hands. I got to say, it's easier to get to 27 than to 51, but you got to step up and show some leadership. Now it's make or break time. We got to get these bills. We have to codify this to stop the Democrats with the illegal aliens stealing the 2026 midterm. Short break. Back in a moment.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Chip Roy's with us. Chip, your number is 50 or 49. I think we're counting 48. We're a couple short. Of course, McConnell And I think Tillis is going to thwart everything the president's going to try to do. So what is the real count, as close as you know?
We have 48 online. Mike told me that he thought we had 49 or 50, but I'm trying to run that to ground. I'll text you so you can update the posse as soon as I get the updated number from Mike.
But hold on. Here's what's going to blow people's heads up. How can you be a Republican senator, and how can you have taken money from this audience and have people knock on doors and canvass for you and all the hard work to make sure that you don't get a Democrat? And then on the most fundamental basic things, we got to be supplicants. You know, we should have 3 or 4 Democrats in this. You should have Fetterman. We should have 55 or 56 and be close to the 60. We're not. We're short of the 51.
Well,
how pathetic is it? How does that happen? How does that happen?
Well, in at least one case, right? So Mitch McConnell put out a letter last week. This will surprise nobody in the posse, that basically laid out his concerns about basically federalism, right? Well, the federal government shouldn't be stepping into what this is, a state purview. This is old school thinking, right? Where we have this reflexive constitutional debate about what we should be doing. There's very clear constitutional authority and, frankly, duty to ensure that our elections are being handled the right way, right? It's plain as day right there in the Constitution. And so we can manage our own elections. So we certainly can put requirements. And by the way, we drafted these to be focused on federal elections. So it's federal voter ID. It's dealing with citizenship, which, of course, in addition to our election authority, we have citizenship authority. So you've got both forces under the Constitution where we're given that authority. So I think there's 2 or 3 or 4 members that are trying to hide behind that. The pressure is coming up. I think we're at 49. I'll double check, but we're going to have to keep the pressure up to ensure where we are.
Your Sharia-free America caucus has spread beyond Texas. On Texas, this issue is on fire. And of course, on the 3 March primary, there's going to be Proposition 10, which prohibits Sharia law in the state of Texas. You're also on the ballot. You're leaving the House and running for AG. What would you tell folks in Texas? You know, we've shifted the flag down here. We do War Room Texas from here. And I've never seen, I said, of all the things we've launched, pandemic, impeachment, all of it, we've never had an explosive growth like we had in War Room Texas, because people down here are clearly now have permission structure to talk about something they've wanted to talk about and take action on. What is your caucus going to do? Number one, is it spreading for more members than just Texas? And what can the caucus do at the federal level to help the Texans?
All right, well, so first of all, in no particular order, number one, we've got to be a voice, and that's what we've been doing. And going back 2 years ago, I gave a speech on the House floor, which ignited some of this. Charlie Kirk and I, our last conversation we had on that was substantive was on this topic. This was last summer. We started laying out some framework of things we should do. I introduced legislation, obviously, to take the tax benefits away from care, to go after and prevent anybody that is adherent to Sharia law from being admitted to the United States, and frankly get removed if you're adherent to Sharia law. We've got the PAUSE Act, which pauses all immigration until we've sorted out the entirety of the numbers, including the Sharia issue. What we're going to do is continue to expose and hold hearings and try to grow the numbers. We've had an immediate good group that's formed around it. We don't want to have people join it to get cover, but we do want to grow the numbers, right? So we're going to, as chairman of the subcommittee on the Constitution, we'll hold that hearing next week. At the press conference today, we'll be talking about a lot of these issues to expose them. We want to basically, our first step is make sure the American people, and Texans in particular, aren't afraid to talk about this. We've been trained and beat over our head to think that the First Amendment means that we have to turn over our sovereignty of our nation and walk away from our Judeo-Christian values in the name of the First Amendment. That's not true. You've got people here who want to Islamify our country. They're at war with our way of life. They want to undermine Western civilization. They want Sharia law to apply. And all of those things will destroy our great country and what we've done as Western civilization for the world. So we want that message to be loud and clear, and we want to expose the 300 mosques and growing in Texas, the Epic City, the Islamic Center in Houston, the Islamic Center in Austin, the Islamic Center that's sitting there on West Campus of the University of Texas. All of the things going on, like yesterday in Wiley, Texas, where they were handing out hijabs before school, all in an effort to carry out their agenda. Those things need to be exposed, and then we lay out all of the legal ways to stop them.
Chip, where do people get you on social media to find out everything you're doing in the House and also to your campaign site?
Thanks, Steve. ChipRoyTX on X/Twitter, ChipRoyTX, and then ChipRoy.com is my website. I appreciate it. Heading back over into the Judiciary Committee here in a second to work on some more issues with the great Chairman Jordan, and appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Chip. Appreciate you. Brad, I'm going to come to you in a second. Caroline, I think this is the frustration with the War Room Posse. People work like crazy. Here we are. Now, these bills, it's a little bit jumbled, but the bottom line is the president wants this. The MAGA base wants this. The Republicans want this. And here we are now in a fight about the government and about DHS, which they've got extreme, no mask, body cameras, which we've given them already without a negotiation, right. Your federal badge up there, all because so they can dox you. That's what they want. Also, no indemnity for the ICE officers. They want a federal warrant to remove any. They want a signed judicial warrant to remove anybody from the United States. President Trump now, he said yesterday there are 20 to 25 million here on Biden's watch. I'm at the official number. I think it's 12 to 15 million, but that's a grunch. It's going to take forever. They want no more walking patrols, right? And I find out in an article last night they put up, Bovino really fought that the whole DHS apparatus and people at the White House, saying, hey, we just can't go into these jails because they're not turning them over. We need to have broader sweeps. We need to look at mass deportations to force these authorities who refuse to work with us. And in Minnesota, they're laughing in our face. All that being said, we're jammed up in a huge negotiation for that. Now we've got these issues, which we have to get sorted in a couple of weeks to make sure that they can't steal the elections. When Maryland Senate last night votes overwhelmingly to go 8-0 in congressional districts, Spanberger's running the Commonwealth of Virginia like a CIA operative, right? She's well-trained. She's smash mouth. She's already 10-1. So mathematically, you're going to have a tough time to even do it anyway. But to stop the stealing elections, we're at 47 or 48 votes. You have to be a supplicant even to get to the 51 to get the standing thing. How can this happen? And how corrupt is McConnell's Senate, and why do we keep sending these people back?
Well, because Mitch McConnell and people like him, they want small majorities. That's how they maintain power. They do not want what would have happened if Mitch McConnell was not in charge of SLF at the time. And if we had the SAVE Act actually passed, we would have had Senate leadership fund. We would have had Republican senators in Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, and they tanked all of those races on purpose. They want to have a 51, 52 seat because they can control that. They can control the Rick Scotts and the Mike Lees when they say, oh, no, sorry, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins are not going to vote for this, and so we can't even do it. And that's what's happening right now. You have Murkowski and Collins, who traditionally will go with wherever leadership or McConnell tell them to, and if we're able to give, especially someone like Collins.
So when you see those people opposing it, they've been told by leadership.
They've been told they don't ever break out on their own. That's how that works. That's a total scam. But then you have a bigger problem in that you have Tillis and Cassidy just doing it to be jerks, and they're doing it because they're pissed off at Trump. Cassidy in Louisiana, Trump endorsed against him. Tillis is just on a jihad against Donald Trump and MAGAism and will oppose anything that he does. And so those are the ones there. And I think you're probably better off trying to pick up Fetterman, who actually has been, I think, more open to this idea than anyone else. But really, nobody wants
to talk about it either. Yeah. Tillis is tanking Whatley in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
The polling on Whatley is Whatley's at 24, 27, 26, 27, 28%. Part of that is MAGA's not convinced he's MAGA, but more importantly, they're seeing Tillis every day, and they're going, why should I do this if Tillis is sitting there? What's the use of having anybody in the Senate if Tillis is sitting there opposing everybody? Let's go. Dave Bratt, your thoughts about this, sir?
Yeah, well, just rewind. I agree with everything Caroline's saying, but just back to the basics. This is the America First issue of the highest order. President Trump ran on it. He's president because of it. Rachel Bovard in the Wall Street Journal today has a piece saying this is an 85% issue. It can be transformative. Caroline said, make the senators accountable. Chip said, turn on the cameras, shine the lights, show everybody what's going on. I work with the Immigration Accountability Project. Everybody go to IAPaction.com and maybe spend some money there instead of on the candidates who have let you down for the past decade and ruined our country. The real problem, Rachel gave us one set of numbers, 85% of the American people want this. So why isn't it happening? And
hold it.
you all know the answer. It's because 85% of businesses do want it.
I want to be very specific. She's in the Wall Street Journal. As you know, Paul Gigot is no friend of Trump or MAGA, right? Those guys hate it, as we talked yesterday about the Wall Street Journal overall. Go back, when Bovard says 85% of the people support this, specifically talk about these provisions that the American people say, yeah, we definitely should have that. Walk us through it, because her piece, and I want to thank Gigot for allowing it to be in the Wall Street Journal because it's getting a broad reading. But it's quite powerful. And as you know, Rachel Bovard is a fire breather. What does she have to say, Dave?
Well, Rachel goes through the points one by one by one, but overall, she's making the point that this will crack the ice and give the rest of the Trump agenda breathing life again into the power of the people and the conservative impulse in this country. Right now, everyone is very frustrated for everything you're saying. But the other point, that she's raising, these are just common sense principles, which we've covered. Illegal immigrants can't vote and on down the line. But the other piece of evidence that's important to bring up is Senator Mike Lee. A probable Supreme Court justice in the future is about the safest pair of hands you ever seen. So Senator Mike Lee is on board with this legislation, the SAVE Act, and Chip Roy. This is something we have to move on. And so I'm all in favor of it. And everybody needs to go out. I'm not kidding you. IAPaction.com. Go support that group, because that's the only group I know of that has a roll call vote scorecard that holds the congressmen and women accountable. And it has their track record there. And this will be a key vote. Heritage Foundation, all these groups have key votes. Yeah. This will be a key vote on just a common sense 85% issue. And of course, 85% of the money is opposed to this. And that is the crux of the issue.
Exactly. The reason that this is so important, Rachel Bovard, Caroline, we got about a minute here before we go to break, is that the Trump agenda has not been codified. Right. It's all the great executive orders, and we're moving out. But it's just like at the end of President Lincoln in the movie Lincoln. The Emancipation Proclamation was just an executive order. They said, hey, as soon as you're out of office, the next guy can just sign it away, and we're back to the same issue we fought the Civil War over. That's why we need an amendment to the Constitution. Here, the same thing. President Trump's done a great job. These executive orders need to be codified. This is the most basic that has the overwhelming support of the American people. We're at 48 votes in the Senate. I mean, this is the problem that MAGA has with the Republican Party, man.
Well, I just think this is an incredibly dangerous vote for the elitists to ever allow to happen, because it will end in one-party rule for the foreseeable future, because right now the math is just not behind the Democrats. When the new census comes out, there is no electoral path for them to win a presidential election.
With American citizens.
With American citizens.
If you get a census that doesn't count, it doesn't count illegal aliens like we tried to get in 2020.
And you're having a mass exodus from the blue states into red states. And so it's going to change the map entirely. The Democrats can win Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, all of them. And the Republicans will still win the White House. This is why they're moving in so intensely on Texas. This is why Texas is their long play. They have to make either Texas or Florida competitive for them to have any future in national election. And so exactly. And so in Texas, that's why this is our true last stand right now. It is so important.
Texas is the new Colorado. Yes. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. Birch Gold, of course, gold's back up today, but hey, it is all over the map. Make sure you understand what's going on. It's not the price, it's the process. Birchgold.com, promo code Bannon, the end of the dollar empire. We called it 5 years ago, and she's come out and said, hey, I think we want the Chinese currency to be a competitor to the U.S. dollar as far as the reserve currency. That, ladies and gentlemen, will change your life. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team today at Birch Gold. Short commercial break.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch Season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVANGEL to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVANGEL to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back. Dave Bratt, Frank Gaffney, watching the show this morning, just sent me, he said Dave Bratt inspired him that he's come up with an idea inspired by Bratt. We should make all U.S. senators wear body cameras.
Love it. Love it. Go Gaffney. He's great.
Go Gaffney. That's a very good recommendation. So Chip Roy got us the count. He said it actually is to 50 now. It's 48 plus Lee and Thune, Mike Lee and Thune. We're missing McConnell, Collins, and Murkowski. I want you to explain to the audience again that this is McConnell's deal, that he controls Murkowski and Collins. They're not independent actors. So when you see them opposing bills, it's not simply that they are essentially Democrats who are in the Senate, but they are controlled by Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, they are. Well, I also, Mitch McConnell has little to no agency over himself anymore. So this is actually a staffer behind Mitch McConnell who is doing this.
Just hates Trump and hates MAGA.
Yeah, completely. I don't, McConnell is very weak right now, I guess we could say. And I can't imagine he's sitting there authoring reports on this. But I do believe that McConnell's mentality, the mentality behind his staff and behind this has to do with control. And they don't want large majorities. They want small majorities. They want to be able to control the base and control what is the majority, not only in the country, but in the Republican Party. And so they don't want 56, 57, 58 Republican senators. They want it to be small. And I do think that with Collins, I always give her a little bit longer of a leash because she's up for re-election and Maine is a very blue state. So if we don't need her vote, fine, then, if she goes the other way on it, fine. With Murkowski, Thune absolutely does have the ability to tell Murkowski to get on board, and that's a plan for the president.
And it's Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska. And also, if you don't, then trade something. That's what Alaska does. That's what Murkowski does. They want a bridge somewhere. They want, a dam somewhere or whatever. And they're saying, great, then use your leverage and trade on it. I don't even care. But that is what she usually demands. And so, whatever it is, I think this is the most important vote that they could possibly do.
President Trump won. The two centerpieces of the MAGA revolution is, number one, seal the border, and deport all illegal aliens. Get the sovereignty of the country back and make the citizens in charge. And number two is election integrity. We're not going. And by the way, they're both inextricably linked because this is how the Red-Green Alliance has basically taken over large sections of the country and continue to control our elections and continue to control, as you say, these are red states with massive blue cities like Illinois and like New York, like Minnesota, right? That you have these sanctuary cities, and this is why they keep sending them in. And I might submit that right now in those sanctuary cities, there's been no reaching out or middle ground with Homan saying, hey, we just want access to the jails to take the criminals out. And maybe we even prioritize the hardest criminals in Minnesota. And they're not doing that. Hochul just came out last night and put out a decree. There will be no working relationship whatsoever between New York State's law enforcement and ICE. So it couldn't be more in your face. You cannot compromise with these people. There's nothing to compromise about. And that's why I say if we can't get this vote, first off, we ought to put a blowtorch to these people in the Senate. But if you can't even get to a vote to codify this for this election, President Trump is going to have to nationalize the elections. We're going to have to then take other measures to secure, because we are not prepared, and the Warren Posse and the MAGA base are not prepared to sit back and just have these elections stolen.
No, and you also, I don't even understand why we need to do this, Bill. If you are not a citizen, you can't vote. We can go in and enforce that. I don't understand how a state can decide.
Put ICE around the ballot boxes. And they can cry all they want and throw their toys out of the pram all they want. Dave Brett, your thoughts on this?
Well, you brought up Virginia, the stunner proposed legislation that caught my eye more than any others. They're going to make it illegal to count hand ballots. Right? Let me say that again. They're going to make it illegal to count hand ballots. That's the most safest, accountable way. All the rest of the world does that, by the way. Every other country except for the United States. And so what the American people haven't been able to, receive yet, because they don't want this view of their own country, is that one of the major parties is pushing that type of corruption in your face, in public. And that's, Minnesota, nice. There's all sorts of articles on that going on, the churches, the NGOs. The American people, I think, are finally getting there because the Minnesota story also involved that $10 billion in corruption bleeding off, right? And then the Ukraine war, we still don't have an audit on that. And so when you combine the corruption with the money and the fraud and the American taxpayers paying the bill for it, that's the new piece that we may be turning the page. But as Chip just said, turn on the lights, crank up the cameras, and let's hold everyone accountable. Shine the light on the senators, on the House. On the budget piece, we still don't have that part right. That's still inflationary. We got work to do on that. The good news is President Trump, the Atlanta Fed Now GDP Now number is 4.2% GDP growth. It was 2-something under Biden a year ago. And so that is phenomenal progress on the economic front. There's way more to come. That's going to kick in. But that is very much tied to what we do on this border issue and the border invasion. When you got 10 to 20 million illegals in the country, that puts tremendous downward pressure on wages for the poorest of the poor.
But that 4.2% is a great number. Here's the issue with it. They're going to use that against President Trump. What the Democrats want to shut down the government because they think that drives the growth rate down and it thwarts President Trump's economic program. That's one of his concerns. That's why we're facing now these two dilemmas. You've got all this ICE negotiation that we shouldn't give up on anything because they've just told you, Hochul just told you there's no compromise. They're not going to work with you. And if you don't get the codification of the election integrity issues, then you're going to have to do it yourself. Caroline's absolutely correct. The demographics is working against them. Right? If you have a census that doesn't count illegal aliens, which we try to get done in 2020, that it's a totally different demographic. Plus, what the movement to Florida, the movement to Arizona, the movement to Texas, to these, and particularly these other southern states that are more MAGA, the Democrats are looking at the possibility of, even with the blue wall, of not winning another presidential election and having another pickup, I don't know, of 20 or 30 seats in the House, which makes it almost bulletproof for their control of the House. Unfortunately, this is why they're making such a tough stand on this. They understand we could put them out of business. One new thing we're going to start in the next hour about the color revolution. People like in Texas 9, I don't think folks in the United States overall, and particularly the MAGA base, understand the lethality of this red-green alliance and what it means. When you look at Mandami and the way they run DSA, Working Family Party, Democratic Socialist, these people are they're Bolsheviks and jihadists, and they are highly focused. We're going to get into this in the second hour. The president of Colombia is supposed to show up and meet with the president of the United States. We'll also cover that on the next hour. Stick around. You're in the War Room.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Tuesday, 3 February, year of our Lord 2024. The markets are on fire. Take your phone out right now. Text Bannon, Bannon, at 989898. You get from Birch Gold, no cost, no obligation, the ultimate guide to invest in gold and precious metals. Don't forget silver. These right now are bouncing all over the place. Gold is when we start off back on a tear, but it ain't the price, it's the process of what drives value. That's what Philip Patrick and the team are there to walk you through. We've been doing End of the Dollar Empire now on, I think, our 5th year. I'm coming out with the 8th free installment shortly. We just approved the graphics of it. Also, there's a hard copy of End of the Dollar Empire. If you make an appropriate investment, you get the hard copy signed by yours truly, Stephen K. Bannon. People that were with us early on, I think gold was $1,000, $1,100. They learned the process, think for themselves, make their own decisions when it comes to this. We're not here to sell you gold. We're here to teach you about why gold has been a hedge and now a new financial class asset. Talk to Philip Patrick and team over at Birch Gold. Folks, in Texas 9 was a shocker to people. I got that. But, and look, people showing up, it's a special election. It was cold. It's all kind of different reasons and excuses. MAGA thinks thinks President Trump's winning. If you watch Fox News, they're winning every day. So you don't have to vote. But there's something else quite dark going on in this country. Very, very, very scary. And you see in the streets of Minneapolis, but also in the voting box in New York City. And we're going to have Naomi Wolf, who's worked on this, and Jackie Torboroff to talk to you about the DSA, the Working Family Party, kind of the Red-Green Alliance, because they're running the deal. And I'm telling you, in Texas, you saw a little bit of that, and nobody really wants to get their arms around it. I want to first go to Ben Harnwell. Ben, in Europe, we've already seen this. One of the reasons France has fallen, England's fallen. Now you're going to have, I keep telling people, if Le Pen and Nigel don't get in there quickly and try to turn this thing around, I think London and Paris, I think you're heading towards a civil war there in a couple of years. And I think if you talk to people, the Tommy Robinsons of the world and others have to face this every day, they would not disagree. Your thoughts about, is Europe fallen?
It's falling. Morning, Steve. Morning, Caroline. Look, your introduction there is basically the pitch of what we do on our Friday show, our Friday Battleground show every week. Last Friday, for example, we had Professor David Betts on from King's College, London, the great expert on on war in the modern era, who says this is his thesis. We've had him on the show before. This is his thesis, that the UK is heading towards civil war. And I asked him, even if, Professor Betts, I said, even if Nigel Farage gets to form a government at the next election, surely that will slake the anger somewhat of the UK. And he says, no, the trends in the UK are so set towards civil war. That is going to happen whether Nigel Farage is elected or not. That's a very serious academic coming out with that prospect. And we're watching this on our Friday show on the War Room extremely closely. But it's not just the UK. Steve, you asked your question going around Europe. I'll come on to Italy for perhaps in a moment, if I will, and the European Union. What I would like to talk about today is Spain. This is something else that we covered on the Friday show. Now, I don't know if you know, but in Spain, the hard left government of Pedro Sanchez doesn't have the parliamentary arithmetic to do what he's going to do, which is to regularize, Steve, 500,000 illegal third world invaders. So they're going to skip Parliament and get it done via royal decree. The consequences for Europe, once they have that paper, you see, these people, they can then travel right across the European Union. That's the risk. What I want to cite today, this is the development since we hit this story on Friday, is that the hard left Spanish politician Irene Montero, who's basically the Spanish equivalent of AOC, she says this, and the response to this, quite appropriately, has been the mask is slipping. She says, I hope for replacement theory. I hope we can sweep this country of fascists and racists with immigrants. That's it. That's the pitch of these people, Steve. And these are your allies, right? These are your European NATO allies. As President Trump and his administration quite rightly said in the US national security strategy released in December, if Europe goes down this road of ever more immigration, then these European countries will no longer be of any use to America as allies. There is the hard throwdown from the US administration. It is having an effect on Europe, but possibly not the effect, Steve, that you're looking for. And the effect is increasing performative response from your European capitals, from your European chancellors. They're starting to talk in language which is more acceptable to the US administration, but their actions behind that are totally the opposite. Let me cite, before I give back to you, let me just cite one example. I said I'd come on to Italy. So you have Giorgia Meloni, and she's out there preening herself, especially now preparing for the Olympics later on this week. She's certainly going to be the queen bee there. And she's pushing out this line that, don't worry, Italy's going to meet the 5% commitment. President Trump is perfectly reasonable. We're going to meet this 5% defense of GDP ratio that he'd like us to do. What she's not telling you is that she's sneaking into an order to get that figure up from 2% to 5%. She's sneaking in a bridge between Sicily and mainland Italy, which she's calling a national security issue. She's putting in the pensions of the defense sector, and she's putting in the expenditure for the Coast Guard, right? Which hasn't, by the way, which hasn't succeeded in stopping anybody from coming in illegally. That's what European allies are doing, Steve. So to answer your question, with all that in mind, yes, Europe is ending. It is finishing. It's not finished yet. As the end comes ever closer, nearer, you get to see a good portion of the electorate are becoming ever more stronger and hard line in their refusal to allow their thinking and their words to be shaped by sociopathic overlords. The question here, of course, is that will it be enough in time, or will it be too little, too late?
It's perfect. I put up the other day, we didn't play in the cold open because, or maybe we did, it was in Spanish with a subtitle, but the politician, the AOC of Spain, she just said it out loud. She goes, we have more in common with the migrants we're going to let in from North Africa than we have with the right wing and the conservatives in this country. And yes, it is replacement theory, and we are replacing you. Dave, and I said when I saw that, that's exactly what they're telling you in Minneapolis. That's exactly what Mandami's telling you. The only reason they won't say it is that will then reinforce what they've said is a right-wing conspiracy theory. And who they're replacing, essentially in the United States, they're trying to, and you're starting to hear voices come up and say this, is first off, African Americans, African-American citizens, Hispanic American citizens. They want to replace those folks who have voted for Trump and now starting to shift to Trump to a more malleable population. Dave Bratt, your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, well, Harnwell does a great job of giving the overview there. I think some famous economist, Keynes or somebody, said, like it or not, two philosophers have shaped the world we live in today. Karl Marx under communism and Adam Smith under freedom, roughly speaking. And roughly speaking also there, Adam Smith wasn't exactly orthodox, but it's basically the competition between a society framed around the Judeo-Christian tradition, Western Europe, Christianity, of course, in Adam Smith's Scotland, versus Marx's China and Russia and communist atheism. And so if you follow that line of thought today, how are we doing? Well, there's no more systematic thought, right? There's all sorts of news articles out there today about the psychic pain people are feeling, the anxiety, the tectonic plates shifting in the economy due to artificial intelligence. And so people are high on the nerves right now. Why is that? Another reason is because people don't have any of the comfortable systems of thought in their mind anymore that helps to anchor you in a world of chaos, right? Of course, God is the slayer of chaos right in the beginning of the Bible in Genesis. But in our grand traditions right now, the great Protestant and evangelical traditions, we don't have systematic thinkers anymore, systematic theology and philosophy as you had in Luther and Calvin. You've got some crazy evangelical nuts out there just making stuff up. On the Catholic front, you got a bunch of sentimental priests here and there doing NGO work instead of providing systematic accounts of the gospel and the religion. On the Jewish front, you got rabbis who are detached and not tethered anymore to the Torah. And to the Old Testament scripture and to God. Very few theologians these days referring to God at all in any sphere. And so it's no wonder when you lose those kind of things, right? Harvard was founded, back in 1640. Their motto was truth for Christ and church for a couple hundred years. That is no longer to be found. And so we are living in very chaotic times. As Harnwell said, it'll be very hard. Very, very hard, difficult to put that genie back in the bottle. Right? It's still possible. We can still do it. The church is still there.
It has to be
85% of the people are still there on certain issues we've been covering all morning, and they need to act. If they don't act, we're going to lose it all.
Well, here, let's talk about Bren, before I go to Jackie and Naomi. Ben, on this, he does the traditional evangelical and Catholicism on Wednesday. On Friday, he does turn it over to talk about what's happening in Europe and this revolution is coming. When you have a guy at King's College that's a tenured professor and one of the top thinkers in this, and he goes, if Nigel Farage if reform comes in, which is historic to beat labor and particularly the Tories haven't done it in 250 years, It's just slowing it down. It's not going to change it. You're going to have a civil war. And if you've ever studied English history, when they have civil wars, like under Cromwell, it gets a little nasty. Yeah, no, you're going to a civil war. That type of talk from academicians, it has to be an alarm to people here in the United States. We're heading down this path unless we stop it now, ma'am.
I was just in London, and there was no more depressed population than the UK. I mean, everyone I talked to was just so down on their own country. And in fact, I was having dinner with a couple of very liberal attorneys that I'd had dinner 2 years ago. And when I had dinner with them 2 years ago, they can't stand Nigel Farage. He has no chance. This time around, just a couple of weeks ago, they said, Caroline, it's no longer a question of if Nigel Farage will be prime minister, it's when. And they were actually voting for him. But they did say to me, they said, look, we give up. Like, we're just going to support Nigel because he's the only one at least talking about new ideas of breaking the system. However, we're probably going to move and leave. They're all fleeing to Gulf Arab states. And they said, even if he gets in, I don't think he can fix it. Our country's gone. So I don't really think there is going to be a civil war because I think anyone.
You think it'll surrender?
I think it's surrendered. I think it's gone. I hope Nigel gets in, and I hope he can do what he can. But I'm telling you, it was the most depressing place that I've been in. I just went to Davos, and that was a pretty depressing place as well.
Talk to me about Davos.
Davos.
You were there with the president's contingent. You saw the whole thing. President dropping the hair. I said, for the globalists, they said it was they threw themselves on the fire. It was fascism. It was the Nazis coming for MAGA and globalist populist nationalists throughout the world. It was Pericles at Athens.
Davos, I've always railed against that conference and going to things like that. But this time I did want to see President Trump in all of his glory speak. And I will say that all the European nations and the people there from Europe were in such panic. And he had such control, President Trump did, of that conference that was neat to see. But otherwise, just the trajectory of Europe is so terrible. I mean, they're just.
But that conference, the globalists, is what brought this problem to England, and the elites and the conservatives look the other way. Yep. You can't be controlled opposition. This is the reason Texas is so important right now. It's why you're going to have to address New York City. You cannot just turn over the financial capital of the world to a Ugandan Marxist jihadist. And that's what you've done. And don't think these people don't have power. And don't think they're just going to willingly turn it back. Anyway, we're going to get to Jackie Torres is going to join us, Naomi Wolf. They've been facing this every day. They're going to give us a street-level view. This is what caught Senate District 9 by total surprise. Birch Gold, text Bannon at 989898. Get a free, no obligation study guide on investing in gold and precious metals in the age, not the era, the age of Trump. Totally free.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch Season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAV Angel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAV Angel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I think for right now, Columbia is going to be closed press, so we'll keep you up to date on that. 2 o'clock today, the Sharia Free Caucus is going to have their initial press conference. We'll cover that. Natalie's going to take the helm at 5. I'm going to do War Room Texas. Natalie's going to be here at 5 with us. Before I get to Jackie and Naomi, you just dropped a bombshell that the engine room picked up. You said that the elites, many of the elites you know in London, are just throwing in the towel and saying, I can't fight this. I'm not going to stick around to fight it. I'm going to the Gulf Emirates. I'm going to Dubai.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, the taxation there is absolutely out of control, and they're like, screw it. I'm not. You can't make money in London. There's no. This was one of the greatest, financial cities in the world, and if you make any money, you get taxed on it. And even then, the economy is so horrible there that it's pretty difficult to even make money. And so a lot of them are just saying, screw it. I'm gonna move to Dubai. Some were telling me they're moving to Istanbul. But this was not just the money people too. I was amazed. Every taxi driver that I talked to, every waiter, was just all they talked about was Nigel Farage. Like, it was just, he just dominates all conversation over there, which is great and important. But they also, like, the taxi drivers wanted to leave and were just horrified by what their city had become. And so it was, I was really sad leaving there because London, I grew up going over there. I thought it was wonderful. It's one of our great cities of the world, but it is just a depressing place.
We're going to get back to Ben on that in a moment. Jackie Torboros joins us. Jackie, and I've got Naomi to follow you. I don't think, being in Texas, the Senate District 9, the Trump voters didn't show up. They think he's doing too good, or they're upset that he's not doing enough, whatever. The weather was cold. But I think what they're missing is because this guy, there's tons of outside dark money. But of his own campaign, I think he only had $200,000. This was pure DSA. He tried to pretend he's a moderate, but this is DSA, Working Families Party, which has already got a foothold in Houston. People are not ready throughout the rest of the country. They just think the Mondami effect is New York City alone. Can you walk us through how pervasive and what they actually did to take control of New York City?
Yeah, but before we even get to that, in 2026, there are less deaths linked to ICE than there are to Zohran Mamdani's policies. 16 people are dead because of this New York City winter storm. 13 of them froze to death. This goes back to Zohran Mamdani's policies. He refused to let NYPD disband and destroy these encampments. This is part of his whole, Islamist socialist utopia and bringing forward the revolution, which is exactly what DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, is looking to do. Bring the revolution and destroy specifically the financial capital of the universe, which is New York City and really Manhattan.
But it sounds like, I noticed that the mainstream media hasn't really covered the 16 deaths. He's been in office 30 days, 16 deaths because he won't break up the camps. Quite frankly, guys like Mondami, they don't care. That's just giving it up for the revolution, right? That's just the natural process. You're gonna lose some people, and they look the other way. It doesn't face him in the least. So the point is that the media is not going to be a watchdog on him, right? Right now, I think they're building momentum. He's not. We just saw some polls. He's not losing favorability. I think he's up plus 50 in favorability in the city itself. So he's not losing momentum on this. He's only gaining momentum. Is not, and you can see what happened in Texas and throughout the country. They intend to have the energy of the Tea Party in 2010 to basically replace Donald Trump. This is not Nancy Pelosi in 2018. There's something much deeper here that's going on, Jackie.
I think to your point, we are seeing what has happened when foreigners impact our elections here in America. So Zohran Mamdani was very much installed by foreigners, both here and abroad. He received over 160 different campaign contributions of foreign cash. We don't even know if he ever gave it back. But I mean, the truth of the matter is he did very well with foreigners versus American-born voters. I believe it was overwhelmingly foreigners that voted for him. There's certain areas in Queens that are over 75% immigrant. So when you look at the people who he captured, it's really new Americans. And the rest of the country should beware, because this is what DSA is doing. And then they run these candidates like Zohran Mamdani and these radicals who are anti-America on the working family party line. DSA is really the activist center. It's the get out the vote machine. And then you run on the working families party line, and both the DSA and the working families party line, they're anti-America. They're about bringing the revolution.
Now, they kind of hide that, because you listen to all the, before he was in the way they're going to govern is like the Bolsheviks beforehand. They talked about democracy, right, when they were a small minority party. But you did listen to all the hours of it. And what he did is really take the populist nationalists, some of Trump's stuff, and really talked about, because he had all those funny videos of walking through grocery stores about affordability, getting groceries down, free buses, etc. He wasn't talking a revolution. It wasn't like the night he won that you saw the mask come off and he's telling Trump, "Are you listening?" Right? You saw the brutality of this guy.
Yeah, he is incredibly skilled. I would say is as soon as he won that primary, or actually I guess this was even before, when he started really getting national attention, you started listening to his interviews. He was very disciplined in what he talked about, and he talked about it was all populism talking points. Now I'm very curious to see how he actually governs, and even if he tries to enact some of these policies, there's no way they're even going to be successful. But his rhetoric during that time was extremely disciplined and extremely, at some points I even told you, I'm like, I can't tell if I'm listening to Steve Bannon or Mamdani. And it was because that was a very calculated, coordinated thing that he was doing there. And we have to be very careful in watching what he's doing. I think he's going to be similar to what Sarah Palin was for us in 2010 and getting the turnout. He's going to be the one that they send around as their number one person to drive out turnout all around the country outside of New York City. But I'm terrified for New York City, but I think we're about to see a lot of him on the road.
Naomi, I want to bring you this conversation. You actually you tried to fight this at the time. I think you went to the boroughs and came up with candidates both at the city council level, at the local level, that could fight this. What was that like, and how powerful is this DSA Working Family Party's combination?
Well, first, I just want to echo what these ladies have said. Together, this is a fantastic analysis of what's happened in New York. And you're right. I spent 6 months often on this show trying to warn people what was coming at New York, and that, as you point out, it's not just going to impact New York. It's really a model for what they're going to do to the rest of the country. I would add that I don't think that the decisions that Mamdani is making are just authentic, organic, I'm a Marxist, I want the revolution. I think it's a whole new thing we've never seen before. Well, we saw it with the Biden administration. In other words, I think a lot of what he's doing is what China, I believe, did, or the people running Biden did with the Biden administration, which was demonstrate the humiliation, a theater of humiliation for the whole country and the White House and Congress, like all of these dramatic, florid demonstrations of bizarre appointees or fetishists or people who stole luggage. It was all very deliberately chosen to narrate to the world that the great United States had fallen and was a laughingstock. And that was effective. And so I think the same people with the same playbook are kind of running Mamdani. And so we're getting a theater of humiliation for this great financial capital of the United States, New York City. I don't think it's a mistake that 8 days after a big storm. There's still piles of trash attracting rodents, impassable mountains of filthy snow, that disabled people can't get past, elderly people can't cross, slowing down ambulances, making a really dangerous as well as just humiliating spectacle of this great city and its boroughs. But also, if you look at his appointees, Steve, they're very deliberately chosen for the kinds of news stories that then follow. C. Weaver, this young woman chosen to be a tenants advocate, who said basically, white people shouldn't own real estate, and real estate is a crime and property is theft. That's very deliberate to message New York has fallen, that this great engine of wealth through real estate is no longer stable. More recently, he appointed my son, Lennon, a rapper turned activist, for a committee on public safety. My son, Lennon, was an armed robber who did time for armed robbery and some of the most kind of destabilizing forms of crime. He robbed taxi drivers. So it's like this and over again, the woman who had to step aside because her posts about Jews were so inflammatory and hateful and anti-Semitic. And these dead homeless people, I don't think this is an accident. It's very predictable. If you've got single digit weather for a week and you're like, don't break up the homeless camps, people are going to die. We know this. Eric Adams was on social media, the former mayor, saying, this is predictable. Are you an idiot? It's all a theater and it's 30 days in, God knows what's ahead for us, demonstrating that we are broken. We're at the mercy of this Islamist Marxist, and this is just the beginning.
Hang over a second. I'm going to go to commercial break, but I want to come back with this theater of humiliation. I made a comment last week on in Minnesota when Waltz called out the National Guard, right, to protect the rioters from the ICE agents, from President Trump's, from the country's ICE agents. The first day he called them out, he put them in the yellow vest of the sanitation department and had them serve the rioters coffee and donuts on that first Saturday. I said at the time, this is the exact same thing they did in the Cultural Revolution. The kids in the Cultural Revolution, to humiliate their elders, to humiliate their teachers. They put the dunce cap on. Right? This is part of a Marxist revolution. This is what Marxists do. They've done it since the French Revolution. They did it in the Bolshevik Revolution. They did it in the Communist Revolution, the CCP's revolution in China. It is a theater of humiliation. It's to tell you the old ways are destroyed. And if you stick by the old ways, we will humiliate you. That is what's coming to the United States. That's the lesson to learn in Texas 9. The fight is going to be nationwide. Do not think, as we said over and over again, and Jackie Torbaroff and Naomi Wolf warned you and warned you and warned you. What happens in New York doesn't stay in New York. It's going to spread throughout this nation. We're going to take a short commercial break. Back for the theater of humiliation next.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAM. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Yeah, to make you feel good, folks, breaking news, Caroline Wren.
I was just reading about how it seems that Republicans have backed down on the SAVE Act and are going to not put it forward.
Try to close this situation with not shutting down the government, with coughing up the SAVE Act, not putting it to a vote. We'll have more about that this afternoon. Jackie Torboroff, you and I have talked. The city, this ritual humiliation for New York. The snow is 9 feet high. The trash is everywhere. The garbage not picked up. Rodents, rats everywhere. We're back to the worst of the worst. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Yeah, I think it's intentional. It's to make it look like we're living in Gaza. I mean, the place is disgusting. If you are elderly, if you are handicapped, if you are a mom pushing a stroller, you are out of luck. The streets, to Naomi's point, you can't access sidewalks. It's been 8 days, 9 days at this point. It seems very intentional. It seems like they are actually burying cars with snow. The whole thing makes no sense unless you start to think they don't want people going to work. They don't want people to enjoy and have a nice quality of life. You know, under Rudy Giuliani, they arrested homeless people. They broke up the encampments. They carted the stuff away. You lived in Manhattan. You lived in New York City. It was cosmopolitan. It's a dump. It's embarrassing. It's a dump. I was listening to Carolyn Wren. Why would people who have money stay in New York City at this point? Why don't they go to Istanbul or Dubai? Why would they stay here?
Well, they're going to Palm Beach is where they're going. Jackie, where do people get onto your site and where they go for social media? Because you are on fire, ma'am.
Thank you. Please go to my Substack. It is Supermoms Activated. And my Instagram is Jacqueline for NYC. That is JACQUELINEFORNYC. I agree also with Naomi Wolf. Brilliant humiliation.
Brilliant. Naomi, I just want, before we let you bounce, we're going to have you back on this topic. You went around, took 6 months of your life, and you went around and talked to all the elite, all the same elite that's going to leave New York City and head to Palm Beach and take all the hedge funds down there. That's their equivalent of London, the cities of London's elite leaving for Dubai and Istanbul, because they're going to surrender. They're not going to fight. Did you get any traction at all when you warned the elites that this was going to happen?
None. I was shocked. I mean, you know, I come from a background of being a Democratic political consultant, and we don't sit around like that. You know, like if there's a huge danger coming at us, we mobilize, you know, we network. And I was astonished that people whose interests were going to be torpedoed by this obvious Marxist Islamist, you know, weren't defending their own interests the way they would have even, I think, 20 years ago in old New York, that the moneyed interests would have mobilized in their own defense. I don't understand the paralysis of, and I would say kind of nefariousness of the elite Republican establishment in relation to what was going on. I don't understand how they ignored what a big news story it was that you had, half a dozen Black and Hispanic, young, telegenic, inspiring candidates from the community, and they let that go. But now I'm shocked that
two times in history, this happened. The French Revolution, the aristocracy never took it seriously until they were overwhelmed. And the Romanovs and the aristocracy in Russia never took it seriously until they were overwhelmed. When they started standing against the wall or the guillotine, that's when they realized it was real. They laughed it off. They joked it. They laughed. This thing's happened twice before, right? With the French Revolution and the Bolsheviks. And both times, the people that ran the deal, the people that were the elites, laughed it off. And then when they found out they couldn't run, that's when they got stood up against the wall and shot, or they had a guillotine finish the deal. So trust me, these are radical Marxist jihadists. These people are dead serious, and people should look at Texas 9. This thing's going to spread throughout the country. You should be very afraid. You're not going to run from this. You have to confront it, and we have to confront it now. Naomi, I'm going to have you back on. Where do people go to your social media and your site, ma'am? Because you were Cassandra on this deal.
Doing good, but thank you. Go to Substack. My Substack is Outspoken, and over at Daily Clout. And thank you, Posse, as always, for everything. Let's get this done. It's as New York goes, so goes America. It's so true. We've got to protect it.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. On a lighter note, or I guess a counter-revolutionary note, we got Andrew Colvett from Turning Point and the host of the co-host of the great Charlie Kirk show that follows us every day. Andrew, last night we found out in working through with you guys that Real America's Voice is going to cover. You guys are doing an alternative halftime show. Can you walk that through us and how we can follow this and how we can see who the acts are?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. We've got a great show, and I'm going to bring it up just so I don't get any of the details wrong here, because there's a lot of moving pieces here. But yeah, we had this idea. Actually, the great Jack Posobiec helped inspired it. Steve, I think you'll remember that. There was just such a backlash to some of the acts and the approach that the other guys. Steve, I got to be careful with the language I use here, because we are going up against the pro football machine. And there was such a huge backlash against kind of the anti-American, anti-patriotism, anti-ICE angle that was coming out of that. There was just this huge vacuum that was created. And I was talking with Jack about it, actually. Charlie had this great knack during these halftime shows of always going viral, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But he was always commenting on it because he was so passionate about winning back culture. He wanted to play in the game of culture, of actually taking back the hearts and minds of the next generation. And this is what this is all about. It's a huge opportunity for us to just do exactly that and offer America what it wants. That's what we could feel. You could feel it in the ether. You could feel it in the air that people wanted an alternative. So we stepped in and we said, hey, we'll throw our name in the hat. And we announced our lineup yesterday. Obviously, we got Kid Rock. Everybody loves and knows Kid Rock. Funny story here, Steve. We're doing the press release. And Kid Rock, we had all his Grammy nominations and wins next to his name, and he shot back. He said, "I don't want to be associated with the Grammys at all. If you're going to put me next to anything, I want the Waffle House Legend Award winner next to my name." So that's what we did in the press release. So we stripped the Grammys out of the Kid Rock mention. But also, of course, we have Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett. So it's a massive, massive lineup, lots of big, huge songs. And instead of trying to go 1-to-1 and do a big stadium, by the way, I'm going to have a story at the end of this, Steve, on the other side. So please, let's do this again when we're on the other side of this huge event. Because I will tell you, you're going up against the cabal. You're going up against a mafioso kind of machine here. So some of the stadiums weren't willing to kind of even get involved because they didn't want to upset certain people. And so we just decided, they've got this huge stadium situation. Everything's super far away. It's not intimate. It's not up close. And the guy's going to be maybe wearing dresses, and they're going to be, celebrating queer identity and fighting ICE and all this stuff. So we just thought, listen, let's do a made-for-TV concert. Let's do a actual intimate, high octane, bringing huge production value, but in a close space. It'll be a live audience. We're talking hundreds, not thousands, but it's going to be absolutely immersive, right? So our production team has done an amazing job. I've seen all the renderings. I've seen all the pre-production. It is incredible, visually stunning, high octane. And all the artists are going to be doing special stuff, special tributes, some of the best songs, the best known songs. People will be able to sing along. So it's all around, Steve, I could not be happier. And yesterday, Kid Rock, the show, Turning Point, we're all trending number 1 on X. So this might be a David and Goliath situation, but I like our chances.
No, and what's amazing about it, we're going to stream it live. Real America's Voice will have it. You guys will have it also. I think all the warnings people gave and the reason you and Basovic and others started working this and President Trump was in front, you saw it at the Grammys. I mean, at the Grammys, you saw just the ice out, anti-American, all of it. And it really, I think, pays off for all the work you guys have done. And of course, it's a cabal with the NFL. We're fortunate enough to get a stadium for Charlie's memorial service, but they're not going to let you guys have one for doing an alternative to the halftime show, which they always try to make as a cultural touchstone. And this is why I think it's so important that people on the right try to do it. How do we get to this now? This is going to be so it's no set time, although I think the game starts at 6:30 Eastern time, so it should be around 8:30 that time, and it's going to be for 30 minutes correct. When you start, Andrew?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct, Steve. So, it's kind of a floating time, based on the way the game goes. And, what they typically do is they do some analysis of the game, some highlights, then they go to the halftime show. So basically, as soon as the action stops, switch over. You can get right here in Real America's Voice. So if you're watching this show, this is the place to check out the halftime show. Rob and Parker have been amazing. They were right in at the beginning, Steve. As soon as we announced that we were doing this, I got the call from them, and they just said, hey, how can we support you? We want to take the program. So that's huge. So you can do that right here. Obviously, if you're more of a streamer, you can check it out on Rumble, YouTube, X. We'll have it on all the socials, so you can do it there. There's some other people that really want to be involved. Maybe we'll do that. There's only so many licenses you can do when you're working with the publishing companies that own the rights to these songs. So we're in a bit of a legal issue, but that's what's so great about Real America's Voice. They got in early. They saw the vision early, supported us early. So this will be the place to watch it, Steve. Absolutely. But if like I said, if you're more of a social guy, you can go stream it online as well. But definitely switch over, and it's going to be act after act after act, and then there's big culmination. I don't want to give too much away, Steve, but every single artist has been. How do we make this special? How do we take this over the top? How do we make it so the whole family can tune in, right? Like if you don't want to have your kids, if you're gathered your family together for the big game and you don't want your kids to have to celebrate, queer identities and dresses and hate on law enforcement, then you're going to have an opportunity to have something that you can get behind, that's going to celebrate America, that's going to celebrate faith, family, and everything that should be uniting this great and wonderful republic that we all love so much. So we feel like Charlie would be really proud and would really love this opportunity and this effort that we put together. So,
Rob and Parker Sig, want to thank Real America's Voice, of course, the whole Turning Point crew, and Charlie would be very proud of what you guys have done. This is not easy to execute. That's why we need everybody to tune in at halftime. And remember, the halftime is always double what it is in our normal pro games because there are all these festivities at the queer identity and anti-American ice out over at the NFL. But we're going to watch it here on Real America's Voice. Andrew, your show follows ours as it has for, I guess, last 4 or 5 years. The Charlie Kirk Show, you're the co-host. What's your social media? Where do people go to find out more about this, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been posting up a storm here. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, has been tweeting about it. J.D. Vance, Don Jr. So I've been sharing all those links as they come through. AmericasHalftimeShow.com. You can learn more there if you want to check out and make sure you know exactly where to stream it. My X handle is at Andrew Colvett, just first and last name, and you can check out all the information there. And we got a lot more coming up this week, and I think Kid Rock's actually gonna be dropping an op-ed tomorrow, kind of breaking down why this was so important for him to be a part of. And like I said, the acts, the artists, the performers couldn't have been more amazing in this. If you want hope for the future, listen to these guys. They've put their heart and soul into this performance, Steve. It's going to be epic.
Amazing. Thank you, Andrew Colvette. We'll toss to you in a few minutes. Go get ready for the show. Great job on the Charlie Kirk show, by the way. Your thoughts as we go to commercial break about doing this alternative. I mean, this is a big effort. Of course, they get the NFL always gets the best acts and they promote it like crazy. We're doing an alternative. Your thoughts?
I don't even know when the Super Bowl is or who is playing. So I unfortunately, I will definitely watch this halftime show if someone could at least tell me the date of when this is happening. But otherwise, I am excited. This is absolutely something Charlie would want. Charlie was on the forefront of fighting the cultural battle in this country. Whoever Bad Bunny is, I never even heard of him until a couple weeks ago, and I looked him up. He's seems awful, and so Godspeed to everyone watching.
Short commercial break. We're returning to the War Room in just a moment.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAM. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Cameron Kinsey, who was in the Trump White House in the first term, joins us from Tax Network USA. I know it's probably not a great day to talk to people about you got to pay your taxes, but you got to pay your taxes. Scott Bessent's in charge now. I know there's probably a gap between the bid and the ask of what you think you owe and what the IRS thinks. Cameron, tell me about the free assessment. This is critical for War Room Posse members only. A free assessment of actually where you stand. Where do they go, Cameron?
Yes. Well, thanks so much for having me on, Steve. I think last time we were talking, the IRS was shut down. They were doing their software update. Now tax season is in full swing. We've got the April 15th deadline coming up very soon. And that's why the War Room Posse, it's so important to know about Tax Network USA. We're one of the nation's leading tax relief firms. We help everyday Americans like you, business owners, fight back against aggressive IRS enforcement. So whether you're dealing with those unfiled returns, mounting penalties, fees, collections underway. We have a robust team of CPAs, licensed attorneys, even former IRS agents who just know the tax code inside and out. They've probably seen a case like yours and they know exactly how to handle it. We're just standing against these weaponized institutions. No matter the administration, we're just here to help. So if you're struggling with that tax debt, the worst thing you can do right now during this tax season is wait. I know it's super intimidating, Steve. We talk about it all the time. People stuff those letters in a drawer. They don't want to address this problem, but unfortunately that does make it worse and it gives the IRS more power. But like Steve noted, everybody, the War Room Posse, we had so many people calling in the last time I saw you, Steve, about this running offer that we have. So this free discovery call, what does this mean? If you are uncertain about where you stand with the IRS, we can do a free research and discovery call with the IRS through Tax Network USA. And so here's why that matters. If you owe money, you're behind, you have no idea what the IRS has on you, and you don't know if they have assigned an agent yet, that research and discovery, normally it's something that we do after that you've signed on as a client. It usually costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars because we're dealing with the IRS directly on your behalf, but we're still running this promotion for our War Room Posse. I know so many of you have taken full advantage of this, and thank you, because it's making our job a lot easier, making sure that you're getting ahead of this. That way we know how to properly approach your case. So if you are interested in that still, you can just fill out a quick form, tnusa.com/Bannon. You can fill out a form online, or if you want to call one of our agents directly, that's pretty easy as well. It's a short phone call, completely free consultation. You can call 1-800-958-1000. Again, that's 1-800-958-1000. Say that you're a part of the War Room Posse too. We want to take special care of you guys. You guys have been so good to us over the years. Steve, we love what you're doing. You're a patriot and you're a fighter. So we want to help everybody who's watching this program right now and fight to get the best possible outcome for you guys.
Call them right now, 800-958-1000. Nothing that has happened to you and the IRS, they have not heard your tale of woe before. They've saved and solved billions of dollars worth of tax issues. So do it today. Cameron, thank you so much. Honored to have you on here. Tax Network USA, 800-958-1000. Caroline Wren, we got about a minute. Closing thoughts?
Well, I think that is wonderful software. I would like to use it, and I'm going to put in all of my information, my financial data. I would just ask that you add a button that subtracts the amount of Somalian fraud our government has given away, and then I will agree to pay that amount.
What's your social media?
I'm expecting
you're killing,
quite a nice return.
You're killing.
It is at Caroline Wren.
I know we have a bunch of people in the audience saying, what in the hell am I even paying for? Dave Bratt, we got about a minute. What do you got for me, sir, in summary?
Yeah, well, in summary, I kind of give the downside to Western Civ and the collapse of faith and systematic thought across the board. But the good news is, look at that turning point model. The kids in this country, right? They got the senior folks funding them, and we need to utilize these kids. These kids have millions of followers. They know how to make stuff go viral. So if you're having a hard time with your church group or your Republican Party breakfast only has 30 people, et cetera, your own NGOs on the conservative side, use the young kids, get stuff to go viral and beat the bad bunny. Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you, sir. Dave Bratt, the best. Ben Harwell, I'm going to tell you right now, you're so powerful on Europe falling. I'm actually going to use your own War Room Texas today. I'll talk to you right about after the show. Closing thoughts. Give me a minute on your closing thoughts. You were brilliant this morning, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Well, I mentioned the couple of hits that we push out on our Wednesday and Friday show. If you want to get the interview that I did with Professor David Betts at King's College London, you'll find that. That's at the top of my Twitter feed, which is Ben_Harnwell. But if you want my daily commentary and analysis, I'm exclusively on Getter at Harnwell, which is my surname, top of the feed, awaiting your attention right now as an interview with Phony Maloney, an interview I did, about Phony Maloney. We in the International Bureau have our cynical, beady eyes targeted right on her every move, Steve. It's there. Catch you tomorrow. Catch you later. Bye, Steve. Bye, Caroline.
Good, sir. I'm going to call you right after the show about coming on Breitbart, War Room Texas. Mike Lindell, the Charlie Kirk Show is upon us. You're running for governor. You forced Klobuchar into the race, but what the War Room Posse wants on a Tuesday is deals. Talk to us about deals.
All right, everybody. You guys have loved this deal, the Made in the USA my mattresses and my mattress toppers. Turn your bed into the best bed ever. The technology that goes into these, both the toppers and the mattress, are second to none. Sleep is all about temperature and pressure points. We've got them both covered. The beds adjust to your own your individual temperature that you need for you to get great sleep. And just the queen size alone has over 10,000 individual comfort supports. And the mattress toppers are low as $99.98, the lowest price in history. Queen size only $149.98. You guys get free shipping. That's on us at MyPillow, right to your front door. And you get the best sleep of your life, and your whole order ships for free. If you go to mypillow.com/war room, you're going to see all the bed accessories, all the mattresses. We have box springs, we have adjustable bed frame, we have everything you need there to get set up your whole bedroom. And we have blankets. Remember, our blankets we're closing out as low as $25 a blanket, 6 different kinds. That's a War Room exclusive. There you see the My Crosses. You guys got we got everything on sale right now for the War Room Posse. Free shipping right to your front door. Promo code War Room, 800-873-1062. My operators speak English, and they love taking your order, and they love the support of the War Room Posse. 10-year warranty right to your front door. Free shipping. Promo code War Room.
Mike Lindell, we love you. We'll see you in the afternoon show. Keep fighting. Most powerful promo code in the business. MyPillow.com, promo code War Room. Okay, Charlie Kirk, Andrew Colvette, and the team. Post those after that. We're back at 5 p.m. Natalie will be doing the 5 o'clock show. I will be on War Room, Texas. You will not want to miss it. See you back here at 5.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere.